You ever look at a handheld game console and think, dang, I wish I could make my own. It'd be the dopest thing in the world. I'd make it with shoulder buttons, a joystick, with a keyboard, and a camera, and make it green. You can actually do this now with this new game that just dropped in early access called Retro Gadgets. It's pretty cool. I came across it recently, and you can make your own little gadgets, all the way from this little timer, to a snake game, to a 3D renderer, and more. You have a bunch of electronic components you can solder together, and you can customize the functionality by writing some code in Lua. If you don't know, I've been making games for this little handheld called the Playdate for the past year, and conveniently, it also uses Lua to make games. That means that Retro Gadgets is right up my alley. I've decided to try and recreate a Playdate in the game, as well as a small game for it. That means I'm going to make a game within a game console within a game. But first, let's do some exploration to see what's possible. When you first boot up the game, there's this nice intro. Looks like there's some different sections, like this archive of different gadgets, a bunch of different board pieces, and different components in I/O. I'll check out some of the example projects. This Mighty Cobra game looks pretty cool. Looks like I have to press a power button to turn it on, and I can play some Snake. I love how it's individual, chunky LEDs that make up the grid. Looks super tactile and realistic. Seems like I can pull open the cover and take a look at the internals. If I flip this over and then scan the CPU, we can take a look at the code for the device. Seems pretty interesting. Let me try to dive into the code a bit. I'll try to figure out how to play some sounds or something. I'll add a speaker here, and wait, you can turn the lamp on and off? I'll close up the gadget and, whoa, they automatically place slots for the speaker. Now for some sound. Where in the code does the game end? Okay, probably this die function. Morbid, but I'd probably name it the same thing. Oh, look at this. There's some nice auto-completion on the code editor. That's pretty helpful. It seems like things on the gadget are stored in this global GDT variable. I'll try grabbing the speaker. There's a state boolean on the speaker, and okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's click this to go to the documentation. Here's a link to the API, modules, speaker. It's completely empty. I guess this game is in early access, but this documentation is completely useless. Whatever, wouldn't be the first time I've seen useless documentation. I'll find a gadget with sound and I can take a peek at the source code. Okay, here's this sort of whack-a-mole type game. Whoa, why is it so bright? It does feel like my eyes are on fire, but it has some sound and it's pretty fun. So here's the source code. There's a reference to an audio chip here. I guess I need an audio chip to interface with the speaker, but look at this. There's type definitions. That doesn't exist in Lua normally. Looks like they've added some extension to the language in some way. Ah, here it is. There's a play method on the audio chip, not the speaker. It might have been too harsh on the documentation. I was probably looking in the wrong place. There's a table of some sounds at the top of the file, but I'm not sure where this is coming from. Oh, if you go back and click the edit gadget and this edit button, there's an asset list with all the sounds. I guess you have to upload some sounds yourself. Okay, I think I get the general idea, so we can move on. I'm bored of that. I'm curious now about what some really cool advanced gadgets that can be made. People can upload their gadgets online and you can browse them, so I'll look through there. Bomber dude. Well, looks interesting. Let's print this out. Oh, cool. It's like a Bomberman clone. I guess I should have been able to guess what it was from the name. That's awesome that you can make fully fledged games like this though. Let's try this. Vox-O-Rama. It says it's some sort of 3D thing. I'm pretty interested. Print. Whoa, what? Okay, this is insane. Seems like you can move this paintbrush in 3D space and paint a 3D model. Whoa, I'm really impressed. Let's see the code. It doesn't even look like there's that many lines of code. Cool, super cool. Seems like the sky's the limit for what you can do in the gadgets. Let's take a look at this last one. I guess it's some sort of flight or rocket simulator. I'm not sure. I'm kind of confused, but seems pretty advanced. Later, I found out that this was made by another YouTuber, Reed Captain, when he made a video about this game. Made a lot more sense when I watched that video. Okay, I think I'm done exploring. Let's actually get to making the Playdate. So I'll start by dragging some boards onto the map. Apparently, you can use a soldering iron to solder these boards together to combine them. I'll just speed through putting everything together. Okay, I ended up with this. There's no crank in the game, so I just settled on adding a slider instead. Looks kind of similar. I know you can paint your device, so let's give it that signature yellow color. I'll pick this up and spray it down a bit. Much better. Of course, the first thing I want to try to do for the code is just to write a simple hello world print statement. Okay, I did some mining off stream, and looks like I had to first manually connect a screen to a video chip in the section here in the bottom left, which wasn't documented clearly, but I figured it out by looking at some other gadgets. I also had to add a ROM chip for some reason to access the built-in system font. Finally, I can use the draw text method on the video chip to draw some text. I'm now officially a retro gadgets expert. Okay, it's time to make a game. What else do I need? Wait, what's this? Communication? Is this what I think it is? Alright, it seems like there's a way for you to connect to the internet with your gadget. Okay, the game is going on hold. I need to experiment with this for a bit. Meow facts. Get random cat facts. It's perfect. Now, how do I use this Wi-Fi chip? Let me check the documentation real quick. Oh, right. So I had to join the Retro Gadgets Discord to figure out how this all worked, but I found out you had to set this weird event channels thing on your CPU to the Wi-Fi chip. You can see here that I make a GET request to the MeowFax API and use this event channel callback function to get the response. Behold, the greatest Retro Gadgets device in the history of Retro Gadgets. Every time I press this button, my gadget displays a random cat fact. You may think that this was a waste of 30 minutes. Now it's time to actually make a game. I think I'm going to make a simple golf-like game where you aim the ball with the D-pad and adjust the strength of your putt with the slider. Drawing the ball to the screen should be pretty simple. There's some draw methods like this fill circle method that takes in the position, radius, and color. Next is a line to show which direction you're going to putt. Not too hard either, using the draw line method, changing the angle with the D-pad, and using some trig to figure out the endpoints of the line. Last thing for the ball, being able to putt it. I think I can keep track of some velocity variable and move the ball in the direction that the line is facing based off that velocity amount. Then subtract some friction constant from the velocity every frame to slow the ball down. I also use a slider to scale how much velocity to apply to the ball. Small problem, the ball goes off screen. To fix that, I'll just make the ball loop around. But to do that, we need to talk about parallel universes. Just kidding. Now that the ball is looping, I'll scale the line length to the position of the slider. That way, it's obvious how far the ball is going to go. It's pretty cool being able to add these physical components and just being able to access them through one line of code. Now that I'm looking at this more closely, the ball looks a little sussy when I do this, but I'm not really sure how to fix that. There's no goal yet, so let's add a little circle to aim at to indicate the hole. I'll draw a circle and oscillate the radius over time to make it animate. I'll also choose a random position to spawn it every time. Now, to make it so you can score, I'll just check if the ball is close enough to the goal when it stops, and then change the position of the goal. I'll use that text code I wrote earlier to draw the score on the top right and increment it every time you score. There's not really an end goal yet, so I'll just add a timer in the top left to make it more challenging. But I actually think that limiting the number of strokes would be more of an interesting challenge, so I think I'm going to add a stroke counter to the top left so you can try to get a high score by putting the ball the least number of times. I'm thinking of adding a title screen where you can pick between the different modes. It seems like there's this built-in sprite editor where I can draw the title screen, which is pretty cool, but I think I'm just going to use ASprite to whip up a simple one really quickly. I went ahead and added a rectangle to show which mode you're entering, and when you press A, it switches to the game scene. Pretty simple, just using an if statement to check which scene we're in and changing the draw function based on that. To wrap the game up, I just added a results screen that shows your score. Obviously, I had to make a port for the Playdate as well, which didn't take that long since the game is so simple and in the same language. I went ahead and uploaded my gadget as well. Overall, Retro Gadgets seems pretty cool. There's a lot of potential here. Maybe in another timeline, I would have been a Retro Gadgets dev. Subscribe if you want to see more fun game dev adventures like this, and see you next time.